Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the first episode of my channel. This is gonna be the very first video where I'm gonna show you how to actually find love on dating apps. Now, finding love on dating apps is quite a difficult feat in the modern world because there are a lot of people on dating apps who do not seek actual relationships. They may seek hookups, they may seek something short-term, primarily hookups. They may just want to waste your time, they may just be bored, they may just be swiping for fun. So I'm gonna show you how to actually find the people that have a high chance to be interested in a quality relationship. So first of all, let's go over the available apps. The most popular one, we all know it, it's Tinder. This app, one second, let me change the color of my brush. Where do I do that? Oh, here. Yeah. Let's go red. Okay, so Tinder is the most popular one by a long shot, and this app is the worst for finding a meaningful relationship. Why? Because it's kind of grown a reputation for being the hookup app. Although Tinder does try to sway away from this, that reputation is hard to remove, and it's not necessarily a bad reputation because, you know, they still make good money, but it's not the reputation that you want to look for if you're trying to find a meaningful relationship. For a meaningful relationship, Bumble and Hinge are far better because the percentage of people on Bumble and Hinge that actually look for a meaningful relationship is way higher than on Tinder. So if you want something short-term or so these are the usual options, excuse the break there, that you get to choose what you're looking for on a dating app, right? So you have life partner, long-term relationship, fun casual dates, short-term fun, and intimacy without commitment. So if you're looking for these two, then you should go on Tinder. You will find this on Tinder without a problem if you follow rules 1 and 2. And you may want to ask, what are rules 1 and 2? Well, they're very simple. Rule 1 is be handsome and attractive, and rule 2 is don't be unattractive. It's that simple. And if you follow those rules, you will find people who want to just hook up and have intimacy without commitment, without issue. And here's an example of it. This is a screenshot that someone posted on the Reddit subreddit of Tinder. Oh my god, I just woke up. Yeah, you can read the rest. But yeah, this is an example of what you can expect if you set your dating apps to these two on Tinder, and if you are attractive. Now let's move on to the other two, Bumble and Hinge. This is where the quality relationships are made most often. And you may want to ask, why is that? And the answer is actually quite simple. They allow more customization of your personality. They allow a higher degree of expressing who you are as a person and not just your pictures. One of the main downsides of Tinder currently is the fact that you don't always see the person's bio if you don't swipe through their pictures. In some cases, on the very first picture, you will already see their bio down there, but in most cases, you will just see their picture, their name, and their age. And you have to swipe to the next photo to see their bio, if they even have it, because the vast majority of people, they don't even have a bio on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. So this leads me to my next point. If they don't have a bio, you need to swipe right. I'm sorry, you need to swipe left. Meaning you don't want those profiles, because profiles without a bio are only expressing themselves through their looks. And if looks are the only thing you want in a relationship, then go ahead and swipe right and try to match with them. But swiping on someone who does not have a bio, and I can't express the sheer importance of this, it's a very bad idea, because it will likely not lead to a meaningful quality relationship. If they can't even write a few sentences about themselves, how can you expect them to put in effort into a relationship? It's common logic, it doesn't go together. So if you still want to find a meaningful relationship on Tinder, I'm gonna give hints for that first. Okay, let's say you're on Tinder and you want to find a meaningful relationship. What you want to look for is someone with a bio. That's the first check. If they have a bio, that's good. Now you want to look at their photos. Are the photos only sexually suggestive? Or are there, some photos that express who they are? For example, their hobbies, maybe a work photo, maybe a photo with family and friends. Also, if they smile, that's a good sign. It means they maybe have positive traits like getting through tough situations with a smile on their face and not just succumbing to depression, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but someone smiling is usually a positive. So that's another checklist. It's not a necessary checklist, but it helps. And then the next one is, of course, how much effort they put into their conversation once you match. So let's say you found someone with a great bio and their profile pictures seem to indicate that they may want a meaningful relationship. The next check mark is, how does the conversation go? And we will dive deeper into this later, but these are the primary checkpoints. You also need to find out what you actually want to find. How important are things to you? How important is money to you? Is it very important? Is it not important at all? Is it somewhat important? That's a question you need to answer before you even start swiping, I believe. And the next question is, how important is intimacy to you? Is it very important? Is it somewhat important? Could you live without it completely? That's also a question you need to answer. Next question, do you want kids? Yes, no, maybe. Simple question, but not such a simple answer. And there's other questions as well, if you, for example, if you like traveling and the other person doesn't like to travel, you're likely not going to be compatible. That kind of relationship is very difficult to pull off. So you also need to look at things like that. And the principles that we just showcased for Tinder also apply to Bumble and Hinge. But the difference being that on Bumble and Hinge, you can see way more of their personality than on Tinder. Although Tinder does have some filters like education, interests and such, Bumble and Hinge allow you to express your personality to a way higher degree. So you definitely want to try Bumble and Hinge first. And then if you don't find any people that you match with, or if you go on dates with people and it doesn't work out, then I would go on Tinder as a last resort to try and find a meaningful connection. So we already covered rule 1 and rule 2. And now we're gonna go back to these. What are you looking for? So we said if you're looking for short-term fun and intimacy without commitment, you need to simply be attractive and it's gonna be easy as cake. Just respect consent. That's a very important thing. As long as you are respectful of consent and their wishes and boundaries, you can find this without a problem. If you're attractive. If you're not attractive, then you're gonna have to make some cuts to your wish list. So for example, if you're not a very attractive person, you can't be looking for supermodels to have casual sex with. Because one of the main premises of casual sex is that you need to be attracted to the other person and the other person needs to be attracted to you. Not in a meaningful relationship way, but in a casual way. So if that's important, if that is something you're looking for, be reasonable, don't be looking for supermodels if you don't take care of your looks or if you aren't that good looking. Be realistic, be realistic is the most important one here. Now the fun casual dates one. This one is a gray field, but generally this indicates that they are not prepared to commit, or they are only prepared to commit for extraordinary people, whether they need to be extraordinary in looks, in finances, in education, in charisma. I don't know, but fun casual dates is not a good indicator that they're looking for a meaningful relationship. Now, these two, looking for a life partner and long-term relationship, these are good indicators. You want to look for these two if you want to find a meaningful and quality relationship on dating apps. But you need to note that if any of these are paired with these three, that diminishes the chances of that person being viable for a meaningful relationship. So for example, if someone puts, let me get rid of this, if someone puts life partner and intimacy without commitment, how are you looking for your life partner and also for casual sex? This doesn't go together well, you know? Unless, no, you know, it generally just doesn't go together well, because you're probably gonna be stuck in a loop of them not knowing what they want, if they want to string you along or go forward. And this is a problem, because if they have these two, there is a good chance that they're going to be looking to replace you with someone else if you don't meet their incredibly high standards. So I don't like these two together, and the same goes for any combination like long-term relationship and short-term fun, or long-term relationship and intimacy without commitment. So I would avoid those if you can, unless they have like a fantastic bio to go with it or something similar. Now let's move forward to the flags. So there's multiple types of flags. The golden flags are the best. If you want a meaningful relationship, these are the flags that you want to be looking for most often. Green flags, they're great. You want to be looking for these, and you want to swipe on people who have a lot of this. And these are not just things that you can find out from looking at a person's profile. These are things that you want to look for on your first dates. Let's say first 3 dates, first 3 to 5 dates, you want to look for these things in people. And you shouldn't be going about the first dates with a person too casually. You should always try to find out a lot about them, but you know, don't be too pushy. Stay relatively normal, don't be too much. I think that's great advice. And another thing that I forgot to mention earlier is you want to get in person as soon as possible. Get off the dating app, change the conversation into real life. Because when you're on a dating app, she or he can change you for another person at any time. For example, they match with a hotter person, they match with a person with a bio that's better than yours. They can just stop texting you at any time. So I recommend to push for a date in person as soon as possible, because that will differentiate you from other people on dating apps. Obviously, it doesn't stop the person from simply ceasing all contact with you and choosing someone else that they match with on a dating app, but it certainly helps. That being said, let's take a look at these flags. So golden and green flags are the best. These are the ones you want to be looking for if you want to find a quality, meaningful relationship. Orange and red flags, these are not, orange ones are not necessarily bad. They can be either red flags or green flags depending on why they happen. Red flags, however, are the worst, and you want to avoid them at all costs. That being said, so orange flag is better than a red flag, green flag is twice as good as an orange flag, and golden flag is 3 times as good as a green flag. And now let's take a look at some examples of these flags that you can spot in a person. So for golden flags, let's take a look. The first one I wrote down has hobbies that aren't expensive. And this means that they just don't have the usual hobbies. So like travel and shopping, going out to eat. And while these hobbies are completely okay, they're very general, and in this financial state, these hobbies are not very sustainable. If you often go shopping, often travel, often eat out, your economic state will be quite dire unless you are very wealthy. So, and it also shows a lack of personality if the only hobbies you have are some of the most general things in the world. Obviously, you can talk about travel, shopping, and even going out for a long time, but I believe that a golden flag is if they have, a hobby, a genuine interest that isn't generic. So, for example, I don't know, ice skating, rock climbing, reading is also such a hobby. Those kinds of things. And I think some people will disagree with me on this one, but it's what I consider a golden flag. The next one we can all agree on is if they put effort into everything. And by this I mean they put effort into texting you, they put effort into meeting you, they put effort into talking to you, they put effort into getting to know your friends, your family, who you are as a person, what your ambitions are in life, what your goals are, these kinds of things. And then if you eventually progress this into a relationship, they also put in effort, into making the relationship blossom, into making a quality relationship. Next one is respectful at all times. I think this one is quite simple. We can all agree on it. If someone is respectful of you, it makes you feel much better, much more comfortable with them. It's a fantastic golden flag. And this one is big. Willing to go the extra mile. If someone is willing to go the extra mile for you, that's such a golden flag. Now, this one has to be careful because it could be also a red flag. And you may ask, well, how could it be a red flag? Well, it's very, very simple. If they go the extra mile just to get something from you, that's not a golden flag, that's a red flag. For example, if they put in a significant amount of effort into you and then they expect something in return, and when they don't get that something, they become incredibly mad at you and start, berating you, calling you bad words, that is a fucking red flag. And I excuse my language there, but it is a red flag. So you need to be careful with this one to make sure they aren't just trying to get something from you. In most instances, that's intimacy, right? Fake effort, fake willing to go the extra mile is a red flag. So you have to be wary of this one. If they're actually willing to go the extra mile, or if they're only doing that to get something from you. Next one, they don't ask for reciprocation on favors. This is also quite a big one. So for example, if they do a favor for you, they don't make you feel bad about it if you don't reciprocate it. So for example, if you stay at their place and you do their dishes, let's say, and clean their apartment, that you don't expect them to reciprocate that, right? You should do that because you want to do it for them to make their life easier, and they should also want to do these things sometimes, but you shouldn't do them out of the goal of reciprocation, because if you only do it out of the goal of reciprocation, you're gonna be very sad and miserable if they don't give you that back. Although I do believe that a relationship needs to have a balance, right? You can't just always be doing things for them. That's also not good. So this one, you gotta be careful that you're not the only one always doing this. Now, of course, if there are difficult periods, let's say if someone has a difficult study period where they don't have a lot of time and you help them with their chores in those months or weeks, obviously you shouldn't expect much reciprocation back. But when they're finished with their exams, it would be really nice if they reciprocated on that effort, maybe took you out, took you on a vacation because you helped them through tough times, these kinds of things, so you get an idea. Next one, takes care of you in sickness. I mean, this one is very simple. You will instantly see if someone does this. This is one of the best golden flags. For example, brings you the food you want, asks you what you want from the store, takes care of you in bed, cooks you, cleans the apartment or house for you so you feel better, so you get well soon. I think that one's fantastic. Next one is praises you for your successes. This is a very important one because some spouses and some relationships, I see that people do not encourage each other and they aren't happy for their partner's success. Some people are envious of their partner's success, and I don't believe that can build a meaningful, very high quality relationship. I believe if both partners need to be happy for each other's successes. Now, obviously, it's normal to be a little jealous, but you need to also be happy for them. If you feel any jealousy of their success, that should not be a determinant, but it should be be a form of encouragement for you to improve yourself. That's what it should be. So this one is very important. Next one, stands by you in your failures. Now this one is a broad one, right? Because if someone fails at everything in life, let's say education, finances, their family dislikes them, their friends dislike them, you know, it's a lot of bad things to deal with. So this one you need to look at it on a case-to-case basis. So for example, if someone fails their exam, you shouldn't negatively you shouldn't react negatively. You should react positively. You should say, that's okay, you tried your best and you're gonna get it done next time, and I'm gonna encourage you and help you study so you pass the next time. So maybe stands by you is not the best phrasing. Maybe I should say helps you overcome your failures. Maybe that's the better phrasing, but stands by you is also fine. But obviously this also means that they should be reciprocative to criticism. But there's a fine line here, right? For example, if someone studies poorly, if your spouse fails an exam and you believe that they didn't study enough, they studied poorly, they spent too much time on other things, for example, social media, if you can communicate that to your spouse without them getting mad or, you know, just irritated, that's a big golden flag. And if you can't do that, well, that's an orange or possibly even a red flag if they can't receive that criticism. But at some point it does become annoying if people always think they know better than you, right? But I think a part of being partners is respecting each other and listening to each other's opinions, even if you disagree with their opinion oftentimes. And this leads me to my next point, which is can give and receive criticism. Obviously, this is a huge one. This is where a lot of relationships are made or broken. That's why I showcased it with a different color. Can give and receive criticism. This happens so often in relationships where someone criticizes the other person and then the other person just gives them the cold shoulder or doesn't acknowledge the criticism, and then the relationship slowly falls apart because a loss of trust and a loss of communication. So if you refuse to communicate and discuss criticism, that's a very bad thing. Don't do that. That's a orange or even red flag, okay? And you should also be thoughtful when you give criticism, right? Don't just say, so let's take the failing exam example. If your spouse fails an exam, don't just say, you didn't study, like you're so useless, how could you not study more? You should say, you should give a positive tone when criticizing. So like the example I gave before, you tried your best, but I encourage you to limit your screen time on social media and dedicate more hours to studying next time, and I will help you with that, you know, in that kind of tone. I believe that's the way to go. Next one is they want your opinion for certain decisions. This is a big golden flag. So for example, I don't know, for example, what should I wear? And they send you like 3 different options and you say, oh, I think this option is best. Or where should, you know, for example, to which university should I go after high school? Should I go to Harvard? Should I go to Oxford? Should I go to the Munich Technical University or Technological? I forget. It's TUM is the shortcut. Doesn't matter. So wanting your opinion for certain decisions is a very big golden flag. Next one, respects you. This one kind of goes hand in hand with is respectful at all times, but specifically respecting you is a very big one. If your partner does not respect you, if they think less of you, the relationship cannot work. It can't work. It's as simple as that. Next one, they talk about you to their family and friends. This one is huge. This one is so huge. If they don't talk about you to their family and friends after about 3 to 5 dates, um, I don't. I think that's a bad sign. That's a very bad sign. That means that they either don't see a future with you in the long term, or they're unsure about you, and both are not good. Both are either orange flags or red flags, in the sense of creating a meaningful relationship. Because if they're unsure about you after 3 to 5 dates, that they don't want to commit to you, that's very bit. I believe that's a very bad sign. So this is a very important one, and you should keep this one in mind. Maybe after like the 5th or 6th date, you can bring up this and just say, like, hey, I talked about you with my friends. You can start with friends because I think it's the less intimidating one in the family. And then you can see if they've talked to their friends about you, obviously, and their family. Although with this one, it should be noted if they've dated a lot in the past, they may want to wait a bit longer than 3 to 5 days to tell their friends and family about you. For example, if in the past that they talked about love interest to their family and friends and it fell apart, then they may be discouraged to do this early on. So that's something to keep in mind. The next one is they aren't ashamed to show you off. Simple as that. This one goes hand in hand with the family and friends. And an example of this is, I don't know, an Instagram story or other social media. Also holding hands in public display of affection, such as holding hands. These kinds of things. They aren't necessary, but they're definitely a golden flag. Next one, doesn't make you feel guilty when they spend money on you, when spending money on you. This one is very important because if they always make you feel guilty when spending money on you, for example, like, oh, look how much this cost, or I'm gonna have to work so much to pay this off, that's not a good sign. You can give criticism in a positive way without being negative, without negatively expressing the concern of spending too much money. But the thing is, spending money on the other person, it should be your free will that you want to do it. It shouldn't be forced by the other person. If it's forced by the other person, yeah, that's kind of it could be more looked as a prostitution, not a relationship, depending on how severe that pressure on spending money is, right? So keep that in mind. Next one, does little things for you that improve your life. This one is very big. An example of a big thing from before is like cleaning your apartment house, helping you with dishes, such things when you're busy, right? But these little things is, for example, leaving post-it notes with some cute letter on it, or buying you flowers and leaving them on your table when you're at work. These kinds of little things, they add up, and they're very, very meaningful. Also, you can leave post-it notes in their work bag, in their backpack for university, high school, whatever age you are, those kinds of things. This is quite a big one as well. It's not a necessary one, but it's a big golden flag if they do it. Next one, sometimes make sacrifices in their life for you. This is a huge one. This is a very huge one. An example of this would be that they, let's say they have only 50 euros left in their bank account, or $50 for my friends across the sea, on the West, the United States of America. Let's say you have $50 in your bank account, and they spend the entire $50, or you spend the entire $50 on a date for the other person. This means that you're willing to spend 100% of your liquid cash on the other person. This means that the other person means a lot to you. And that's an example of a sacrifice. Another example is, for example, if you were going to go spend some time on a hobby of yours, let's say golfing, but instead you cancel the golfing to be with your spouse. Let's say, I don't know, your spouse is feeling unwell, sick, and you had goals scheduled with friends, and you cancel with the friends, and you explain that your spouse needs you at that time, and then you reschedule with your friends for a later date, because being a good friend is also a golden flag. I didn't write it down, but yeah, being a good friend is a very, very golden flag. Next one, shows love on a regular basis. This is a huge one. If the person is willing to showcase their love for you on a regular basis, I mean, this one goes hand in hand with doing the little things and a lot of the other ones, right? For example, talks about you to family and friends. This one is also kind of the same. Isn't ashamed to show off, also kind of falls under this. You get the idea. This is a big one. Also, you know, regular affection, intimacy, these kinds of things fall under this one, and that's absolutely a golden flag. Next is they communicate well and don't give you the cold shoulder. Doesn't give you, yeah, I wrote in another form, but it doesn't matter. This one is very important, because if you express some criticism, so you give criticism and they give you the cold shoulder, that's bad. That's very bad. That's a sign that the relationship will fall apart and simply collapse. It's that simple. If you can't openly communicate and have difficult conversations, that relationship is not going to be of high quality, you know. It may be a okay relationship, but it's not going to be a relationship of high quality. Let's look at an example of this. Let's say I tell you as my spouse that I believe you spend too much time on social media. Let's say you spend 10 hours a day on social media, and you may think this is an excessive number, but this is a very realistic number for people these days, especially stay-at-home spouses and unemployed individuals. For example, students with, let's say, relatively easy degrees. 10 hours is a very realistic time to spend on social media if you don't have anything else going on in your life. And let's say I expressed, I believe this is too much. Let's start by limiting it first to 8 hours, and, then down to 6, 4, and then 2, to, improve your lifestyle. Because if you spend 10 hours on social media, you are absolutely neglecting other aspects of your life, primarily health and social life, right? And also other areas. So decreasing it eventually down to 8, 6, 4, and 2 hours can be incredibly beneficial. Let's say I give this criticism, and if I give this criticism to you and you just give me the cold shoulder, that's a sign that this relationship isn't going to work out. Now, if you say, okay, I think this is unreasonable, let's say for a start, let's do 8 hours, and then we can lower it to maybe 7 hours eventually. Okay, sure. So you find a middle ground. So instead of lowering it to 8, 6, 4, 2, you start by lowering it to 8 and then to 7 hours. This is an example of a compromise, right? And that's how great communication happens in relationships. Maybe I didn't give the best example, but I hope that you get the idea. Next one is that people enjoy their company, so primarily their family and friends, right? Also random strangers, if they can communicate well with random strangers, that may be a golden flag as well. Now, it does need to be noted, someone's looks are heavily dependent here. If someone is conventionally attractive, they are likelier to be accepted positively by other people. So that's something to keep in mind. That's if someone is very attractive, that they are by default people associate them with better attributes, and the same goes for unattractive people, objectively unattractive, right? So they are often associated with negative traits. So that's one thing to keep in mind when looking for this one. Next one is that they make time for you when they have no time. This one is the biggest golden flag, but if someone does this for you, try to make sure that they don't actively hurt their life, because I've seen relationships where people sacrifice so much in their personal life that they actually negatively affect themselves, and then when the relationship falls apart, they're so miserable. So don't overdo this, make time for someone when you have them. A good example of this is, for example, you wanted to spend the day, I don't know, playing video games, right? Playing video games, doing some chores, and instead of that, you take the time to be with your spouse that day. That's an example of making time when you don't have it. Another example is if you woke up at 8 a.m., then had university for 8 hours, got home at 4 p.m., and then had to study, but instead you took two hours to be with your spouse until 6 p.m. and only then studied. That's an example of making time when you have none, and that's a very, very golden flag. And that covers it for our golden flags. Now let's take a look at green flags. Just give me a second to adjust my microphone. Okay, that's good. Next one, we have our green flags. Hold up, let me get rid of this. Green flags are, they take care of their hygiene. This is a big one, obviously. How you smell and how you look, they're very important. Obviously, conventional looks are more important, so genetics play a big part, fitness and health play the biggest part, but hygiene, facial hygiene specifically, and hair hygiene, they play a very big part, you know. So make sure that you shower every day or at least every other day. Also make sure that you wear deodorant if you're gonna do physical activity, wear perfume if you're gonna go on a date, those kinds of things. And you know, groom yourself properly, you know, get rid of that awfully looking beard if you have one, those types of things, you know. Be approachable. That's a very big one. So taking care of your hygiene, very, very important. Next one, if they care for the loved ones, family and friends, that's a very good green flag. You could argue this is a golden flag. For example, if their family has a problem or their friends have a problem, they are happy to help them, happy to sacrifice their time to help them, maybe even money. That's a very important green flag. Next one, if they're aware of their financial status. For example, if they're in a bad financial status and they're aware of it and they have an idea how to fix it, right? Let's say a light bulb pops up. Okay, that's not a light bulb, but you get the idea. If they have poor finances and they have a plan to fix it, that's a green flag. The same goes if they have very good finances and they have a plan not to fuck up their good finances. That's also a green flag. So that's an example of this. Next one, they work on improving themselves every day, little by little. Now, this is a huge one. This one could be argued as a golden flag, but I put it here because this one it's not that easy to notice. You will likely only notice this after dating them for a while. And this could be as simple as taking care of their health every day. So, for example, doing 5,000 or 10,000 steps every day, these kinds of things, you know. Little by little improving themselves every day. And of course, education is another one. Their professional status, their professional qualifications, how they are as a person, these kinds of things. Next, they don't neglect your feelings. This is a big one. Some partners neglect others' feelings, especially their spouse's feelings, and I don't believe that's a good thing. That's I think that leads to the end of the relationship. If they neglect your feelings, that's a very, very big red flag. So if they don't neglect your feelings and they are respectful of your feelings, they're aware of your feelings, that's a very good sign. If they set and respect boundaries, so this is an important one. If they don't set boundaries for themselves, they're setting themselves up for failure. Because if they don't set boundaries, they will eventually be disappointed by something that you will do. And if the time arises and you start the conversation, you know, the criticism and the communication thing we had before, and the conversation doesn't end up anywhere, you will actually waste time. So it's important to set boundaries, you know, and it's even more important to respect the other person's boundaries, you know. An example of this would be if the person says, I don't want to kiss until like the 5th date. That's okay. You should respect that. Now, if you don't want to wait until the 5th date, you can stop dating them, but you should respect their boundaries. You shouldn't be like, oh, well, I want to kiss on the first date, right? Now you can obviously come to a middle ground, let's say 3 dates, but still be respectful of their reasons, because there's probably a reason why they want to wait until the 5th date to have the first kiss. Probably a bad experience, right? So definitely be thoughtful about this one and don't try to breach their boundaries. Middle ground, maybe it's okay to find it. Like I said, if they have 5 days for first kiss and you say, how about the middle ground of 3? That's a respectful approach still. But yeah, this one is very important. Next one, if they can cook relatively well. I mean, needless to say, everyone wants to eat good food, and eating out at restaurants has become very expensive. So, yeah, this is a very simple one. It's also very attractive if you see someone cook well. Next one, if they can clean relatively well. There's nothing worse than coming to someone's place and it being a mess. So just at least, relatively well. It doesn't have to be spotless, but make sure nothing is so unclean that it stands out. I think that's a good guide to go by. Next one, if they can socialize relatively well. This is quite an important one, because socializing is part of everyday life, whether we like it or not. Except if you go live in a cabin in the woods, which is totally acceptable. I mean, society is quite difficult these days. So yeah, this is a green flag. Next one, if they can entertain relatively well, because everyone loves someone that can make someone laugh. This one also goes with the next 3 ones. Is somewhat funny, attempts to make you laugh, and tries to make you smile. These 4 go hand in hand, right? Because everyone loves these values. Everyone loves to be around these people. So these are, pretty important, I would say. Next one is if they listen to your wants and needs. I can't stress the importance of this. Now, this is not necessarily a golden flag. I would say this is quite a necessary, basic standpoint for a relationship. That's why it's under the green flag. But this one's very important. For example, if you say, I need 2 days a week to myself. I don't want to text those days. I don't want to call, maybe some short texts. That's an example of a want, and you need to respect that for the other person. And also you should communicate. So for example, if someday you have a terrible headache when you wake up, you should write them, hey, I'm not feeling that well today, so I'm not going to be able to text or call you or hang out today. Those kinds of things. And if they're respectful of that, that's fantastic. Next, if they communicate their feelings and thoughts to you. This one is very big. If they don't communicate their feelings and thoughts, that's such a red flag, or at least an orange flag, and it's the beginning of the end for a relationship if they don't do this. And I can tell you this from experience. A lot of these things are from experience, not all of them, but these were the ones I could think of. And if your spouse does not communicate their feelings and thoughts, I've been saying spouse, but I'm not sure if spouse is the term for a marriage. I should probably be saying partner. Yeah, okay, I apologize for that. I'm gonna be saying partner from now on. If your partner communicates their feelings and thoughts to you, that's a very, very good green flag, because that means that they trust you. Yeah, and trust is a very big thing. So that's something I wanted to point out. So we covered golden flags and we covered green flags, and now it's time to cover red and orange flags. And I grouped these together because I wasn't really sure which ones were orange and which ones are red, but I will explain them. The first one, if they are too sexual early on. Now this one, it depends, right? I would put this either orange or red. It depends on the context. If your profile is very suggestive, if your profile indicates that you want a lot of intimacy, then it's not necessarily a red flag. But if they are very sexual early on, yet they have long-term on their profile, it may indicate that they actually don't want a long-term relationship. They may only want something short term, or only intimacy without commitment, as we covered previously, right? So yeah, you should definitely be wary of this one. I think it's more of an orange, but it's definitely one to keep an eye out for. The next one, if they take too long to respond, that's a very bad sign. It's such a bad sign. It could only be an orange flag if they're at work, if they're actually busy, if they're doing something in education. But from my experience, it's almost always a red flag. Almost always it will not work out if they take very long to respond. And especially if the responses afterwards are short responses or dry responses, these two combined is just a huge ass red flag, and it will unlikely lead to a quality relationship, in my opinion at least. Next, if their motive is unclear, if they can't express what they want, that's also a very big red flag, because that means they may lead you on and they may actually want intimacy without commitment or short-term fun instead of being a life partner or a long-term relationship, right? So you gotta be wary of these factors. Next is bad financial status or hiding their finances. I would say this is more of an orange flag, but it could be a red flag if they do this on purpose to deceive you, not because they are embarrassed. If they're embarrassed, I would say it's an orange flag, but if they do it to deceive you, I believe it's a red flag. Either way, if someone has bad finances, and I mean really bad, the most extreme example of this is debt, right? If they have a lot of debt and that they hide from you, that's a very, very bad thing, and unlikely to work out and be a quality relationship afterwards. If they interrupt you often, this is not necessarily a red flag, more of an orange flag, or maybe something in between. They may just be nervous, or they may just be so excited to talk to you. But if they do it on purpose, so for example, if they want to showcase that they are better than you, or they have priority to speak, that's a red flag in those examples. But if they only do it because they are so excited to respond to you or talk to you, then it's fine, it's nothing. It's like a white flag, not important, just neutral. If they go quiet without explanation, this is such a red flag. This is a red flag to the power of 3. I mean, this is such a horrible thing. Yeah, I mean, it's just the same thing as the cold shoulder, right? It's kind of in a similar vein. Needless to say, this is horrible. You feel terrible about it. You overthink, what did I do wrong? Why did I not do right? What should I have done more? And it's horrible. You're just stuck in your head, and then you feel like the bad guy when you approach it, and you're like, hey, what's wrong? And then it's even worse if they say nothing, because you know something's wrong, but they're denying it, and then it turns into a complete shit show. So this is a very bad one. If they only talk about themselves, this is more often a red flag than an orange flag. I mean, it depends, if they want to just express who they are to you so you get to know them better, then it's fine. I mean, it could even be a green flag if it's only about that, and if you are the one asking these questions. But if they never ask questions about you, or let's say you ask them, hey, do you have any pet animals? And you say, no, I don't, but I really like dogs. If they don't add, what about you? That's not a good sign, They should be interested in you as well. Next one, if they avoid conflict at all costs, this goes hand in hand with they go quiet. It's horrible. It's not gonna work out. Or it's gonna be a mediocre relationship at best, and that's being very, very generous. This is horrible. This is a red flag to the power of 5, honestly. Next, if they don't respect your time, now this one, it depends on the individual, but if they're always late, you obviously feel bad. It may not necessarily be a red flag, but it's definitely an orange flag, and it's an indicator that will happen in your relationship if you get into a relationship with this person, right? And if you are someone that is punctual, that likes to be at places on time, then this one, it will probably bother you, right? It bothers me sometimes. I have a very simple rule. I think up to 15 minutes of being late is acceptable. Anything over that, you should explain yourself, and you should not do it often, because if you do it often, I'm gonna be disappointed or, you know, just sad about it. I'm not gonna be mad, but that's just me. So I think 15-minute rule is the way to go, you know. Anything over 15 minutes of being late is not great. Next one is if they push your boundaries. This one is very bad, very bad. For example, if you say, I don't really want sex early on, and they say, oh, but I do, you know, they're completely within the right to simply end the dating situation. But if they push you, they say like, oh no, we should have it as soon as possible, it's not that bad. That's not okay. That is not okay. Now, if they say, okay, let's be reasonable, you know, we don't have to wait till marriage, but, you know, maybe a month, maybe a few weeks, you know, if they try to find a middle ground, that's fine. But if they just want to completely neglect your boundaries, that's not okay. Next, if they say one thing but do another. So for example, if they say, oh, I'm gonna do the dishes, or I'm gonna do this task for you, and they don't do it, and then you remind them again, and they don't do it again, it could be a lot of things, but in most times they just don't respect you enough, they don't value your time enough, because if you say we'll do something for them and you don't do it, then they will have to do that, and while they're doing that task, they will think about how you fucking didn't do the task, and excuse my language again, but that's exactly, they're gonna be very pissed while doing the task that you promised to do. So don't do this, and if you do it, don't do it often. If they're vague about their future, this one, not necessarily. I would say this is an orange flag. Like, they should have at least some idea what they want in their future. It doesn't have to be like precise, like, you know, I want to live in Washington, D.C., I want to have a 5-story house, I want to have a master's degree in chemistry, I want to have a blonde, 6-foot tall husband who is charismatic. It doesn't have to be that specific, right? Just a vague idea. So for example, like, yeah, I want to complete my education, I want to find a decent job, I want to do what makes me happy, you know, things like that. The vague one is the problem, right? If they're too vague, I should add too vague here, but yeah. Next one, if they're inconsistent, not necessarily a red flag again, but it's definitely an orange flag, especially early on. If they're inconsistent early on in texting, in meeting up, if they're hot and cold often, you know, so for example, one day they really want you, they showcase that they act like they want you a lot, and then next time they're very cold, and then they're very hot again. It's a very bad sign, because they could have someone else, and that someone else was cold to them on that day, and that's why they were hot to you, because you were their second option. Yeah, so this one's not great, not great. If they don't take responsibility for their actions, this one is a big one, big one. If they always reflect their failures and or things they're responsible for on other people, this is very bad, very bad. If they take accountability for their actions, that's a golden flag. But if they don't, that's immediately a red flag. If they avoid talking about values, goals, or long-term compatibility, this one is very important. Let me just find this. Okay, yeah, so we're talking about this one, right? This one. They avoid talking about values, goals, or long-term compatibility. If they avoid this, they're likely not looking for a life partner or long-term relationship. They're looking for these three. It's as simple as that. And that finishes our golden, green, orange, and the red flag section. We are 55 minutes into this video, and now let's jump into some examples of profiles I found on the Tinder subreddit, and we're gonna go over them. So this guy is Jason25, and he's 3 miles away. His bio is 2 truths and a lie. I was a gerber baby. I once won a regional hot dog eating competition. She Tegan used my banana bread recipe on her secret fruit blog. Now, this is quite an interesting bio, right? A little bit funny. You don't really find out much about them. It's mostly quirky facts, but it's a decent bio, you know. This would be, I would say, a green flag bio. It's not quite a golden flag, there's not enough info about him, but it's a decent bio. Next one, 2 truths and a lie. I'm double jointed. My cat is an extremely popular meme. I was bitten by a dolphin in Maui. Again, you know, decent bio. It's a green flag bio. It's not a golden flag, but it's pretty interesting. And you can notice they're both smiling in their photos. And if you smile, people will interpret that as having positive traits. So this is very good. Next, we have this girl. It's just a photo of her, and green flags I look for: 7 inches and 7 figures. Now this one, I don't have to explain. Yeah, and 7 figures, that's $1 million a year. For reference, this is, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a red flag, because at least she's honest, but it's very unlikely that she's actually gonna find this, you know. So I wouldn't say it's a red flag, but it's definitely an orange flag. For most people, it's probably a red flag, right? But at least she's honest. That's the positive here. Next, I'm on Tinder to make friends the same way I'm on Pornhub to see the plumber repair the sink. This one is very funny. I like this bio. There may be more bio down there that explains their personality, so this is definitely a green flag. There's also a funny pose on the photo. You see that they have friends, which means that they can socialize, and it generally comes off as a charismatic bio. So I would say this is a green flag, maybe even a golden flag. Profile. Next one is a conversation from Tinder, and someone said, to be honest, I'm just looking for something casual right now, not to be just friends. If that's not what you're looking for, I totally understand. Just wanted to be upfront from the start. And the other person responds, I wouldn't F you if my life depended on it. Obviously, it's a very funny answer. I would like this, but this is an example of someone being honest, but from this response, it seems that they weren't honest in their bio or profile. It seems that this person swiped on them and expected a meaningful relationship, and they were met with that message. So they responded, you know, emotionally, because they felt like this person in blue wasted their time. I think that's what happened here. Now, the person in white could have just been an asshole, and the person in blue could have been honest about wanting fun casual dates, short-term fun, or intimacy without commitment in the first place. That's also an option. You know, people can be assholes all the time. So that's another example. Now let's take a look at some more examples. So this is an example of a profile. It's a girl, and she's holding a knife and smiling. And there's a potatoes on the other side of the camera, right? So this is the front camera, and the potatoes are the back camera. Now, what's the first thought that comes to mind? Crazy, right? And if you want a meaningful quality relationship, I would not swipe right on this. I don't know. It's you know, you may not want to be thinking about a girl using her knife when you start to date her. Don't put photos like this on your profile, needless to say, unless you want to attract the craziest people, then do it, but otherwise don't do this. Next one, they are looking for still figuring it out. I'm pretty sure I've spoken to at least 10 AI bots on here, so a real human would be appreciated. Spontaneity, I don't think they spelled that right, is definitely a plus. Let me find, what's the spelling? Spontaneity, wait, they actually spelled it right. Okay, never mind. It doesn't look right, but it's right. It's definitely a plus. I want kind, funny, honest, blah, blah, blah. I love cooking, shooting guns, being outside, camping, a glass of wine, geocaching, grab dinner, and drinks. Divorced mom of 2 kids, 50%. Okay, that means that she spends half the time, the kids spend half the time with her and half with the dad. 2 dogs and a lizard, not religious. Maryland girl, missing the beach and good seafood. Baltimore Ravens, I guess that's the sports team. MAGA girl, she's a Republican. Jeep girl, okay. Pure blood, oh, this indicates that she's racist. Yeah, it's a lot. This is a red flag. This is a red flag. Red flag, red flag. Very, very red flag bio. It's a perfect example of what not to swipe on, no matter how attractive the person is, if your goal is to find a meaningful relationship. Next, it's this guy, and it says they wrote you an intro, so meaning that this guy wrote the person that took this screenshot this message. Hi, waving hand, may I ask what your disability is? Apart from being overweight, I see you as a beautiful person. This is passive aggressive, don't do this. This is not a compliment, this is being an asshole. Don't do this, guys, don't do this. This is a red flag. This is a red flag. Do not do this. Okay, next we have a conversation. It seems that this is on Facebook Messenger or Instagram between two people who were dating. So this guy says, following up, hi, sorry, with 2 eyes. I don't know why I didn't see your message, exclamation mark. That's okay. We're here. We are here, and that's what matters. Yes, with 2 S's. If you want to take me out, let's go get Kavik. Oof, that's expensive. That's a red flag. Next week. I can't. Again, missing the apostrophe. Or whatever it's called in English. I'll be in Hawaii all next week. I'm playing a show out there. Okay, smiley face. Also, let's do something a little more low-key for a first date. Of course, you don't want to do fucking caviar for first date. Again, excuse my language. No offense to you, I just don't spend a fuck ton of money on first dates. Again, excuse the language, but he said it. That's a bad precedent. I'm down for brunch/lunch though. Caviar ain't it. She says no thank you. No worries. Best of luck. This is an example of finding out that someone is a red flag early on. If they want expensive dates, that's a red flag. If they want expensive dates early on, it's almost always a bad sign that the relationship will not be meaningful and that it will be centered around money instead of a connection between 2 individuals. And let's move on to our last 2 examples, I believe. So this guy wrote, hi, I have a question for you that I promise you have never been asked before. Ready? Hit me with it. Which would you say is bigger, your heart or your... Yeah, tough question. I was just processing the disappointment for thinking it wasn't gonna be corny. LMAO. Don't do this. This is the red flag we talked about, very sexual early on. See? Don't do this. Don't do this, guys. Unless you want fun casual dates, short-term fun, or intimacy without commitment. But that's not what this video is mostly about. Next one, the cigarette and fanny pack pic is like hot mom at the school bus drop-off corner sometime in the mid-90s. Is that what you're going for as Halloween? Or as for Halloween? Look, I'm not one to do double message normally, but I really want you to shove. Okay, this is a very sexually suggestive message. And don't do this. Don't do this. This is, I believe this classifies as sexual harassment. It can work out, but it's still sexual harassment, okay? Don't do this, guys. If you want to talk about intimate topics, you should ask for consent first. I think it's as simple as that. Ask, do you want to talk about more spicy topics, or do you want to talk about more intimate topics? You should ask for consent that way before sending such messages. So this is a bad example. Even though the shot went in, she wrote, lol, sometimes you just got a double message when it feels right. My name is blah, blah, blah. Love the 90s hot mom love, because that is indeed the look I'm usually going for. Even though it worked, it's not okay. Don't do this, guys. It's a red flag. Next. The guy on the left, or girl, wrote, how are you? HRU, the abbreviation, and some weird face. I'm good. You just got off work and have tomorrow free, so very good. Yo. What the fuck is that response? That's appropriate response. What you doing? Don't do this, guys. Write the whole thing out. What are you doing? Maybe add a smiley face at the end. Don't write just the abbreviations. This is low effort, This indicates you are not even willing to put in effort into texting. Driving home, what about you? I mean, this is the driest fucking conversation I've ever seen. Again, excuse the language. Chilling in bed, peak. Cringe? Does... Okay, cringe. Yeah, this is just a 0 out of 10. Don't do this. Next, wave. Hi. Wish I can... Censored. Don't do this. This again breaks this rule. Don't do this, guys. Don't do this. Only do this if you're looking for these 3 things and if you ask the person for consent prior, if they want to talk about spicy or intimate topics. Otherwise, don't do it. It's sexual harassment, okay? Don't do this. Don't do this. If you want to talk about those topics, ask for consent if they want to talk about those topics, okay? But if you're looking for a meaningful or quality relationship, you shouldn't even consider these things too early on, right? Maybe later on in the conversation. And that's all for this video. This video is already incredibly long. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna be posting more things like this. Maybe not necessarily centered around dating, but also other aspects of life. Maybe finances, education, general world state, geography, those kinds of things. So if you guys enjoyed those kinds of things, please subscribe, leave a rating if you liked or disliked the video, and comment what you thought of it if you have any ideas for future videos. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful time. Thank you for watching, and peace out.